The LD at School team is very pleased to welcome our guest speaker, Richard Parker, whose presentation this afternoon is entitled Using Assistive Technology and Project-Based Learning to Support All Students. The Ministry of Education has provided funding for the production of this webinar. Please note that the views expressed in this webinar are the views of the presenter and do not necessarily reflect those of the Ministry of Education nor the Learning Disabilities Association of Ontario. We will be tweeting throughout the webinar, so if you would like to participate, you can send us a tweet by using our handle at LD at School or the hashtag LDWebinar. That takes care of housekeeping for this afternoon, so let's get started. It is now my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Richard Parker. Richard is a teacher from the Halton District School Board, and he is a strong advocate for students with exceptionalities. He is also a certified Google educator who has worked with students with exceptionalities throughout his career, first as a teacher in self-contained settings, and then as an assistive technology lead within his school board. This led Richard to his current role at Trillium Demonstration School, where he works with students with learning disabilities and severe reading impairments. Welcome, Richard. The cyber floor is now yours.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this webinar on Math and LDs using assistive technology and project-based learning to support all students. They already covered this about me, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. I do have a lot of experience in special education, most recently at Trillium Demonstration School, so I've had a good chance to practice with a lot of these tools I'm going to share today. The premise from this webinar came from a small presentation I did at ASSET last year. I ended up turning it into an all-day workshop for Trillium in the fall, and then I hope I have adapted it to best fit the needs of a webinar. Resources on the Padlet link provided at the end of this slide deck are from the full-day workshop, so there's more than I cover here. You could always reach out on my Twitter feed at Teacher Parker with a private message and ask me any questions through there, and I'll get back to it when I see that, because there are a lot of references. So to start, Jonathan Mooney, he's a gentleman from the United States. He has a severe learning disability, and he has made it through Ivy League colleges, and he has written 3 books now. The other one just got released this year. And he has a phrase, "The myth of normalcy is the problem." And, you know, in a lot of classes, especially math class, you know, we teach certain strategies in certain ways to all students. One strategy to solving multiplication, one way to break down a fraction and make equivalent fractions. But that doesn't work for all students. Not all students are going to be able to solve the way that you teach if you're only teaching the one strategy or giving them one option of answering their question. So we have to branch out. We have to meet the needs of all students in our classrooms, especially students with learning disabilities or multiple exceptionalities. And we want to make sure that we are giving them opportunity to show their knowledge, explain their thinking in a multitude of ways, so we aren't keeping them boxed in. So disclaimer number 1, I am going to throw a lot of things at you. It's called casting lines. And if you are able to take 1 or 2 of those things away, that is great. If you're able to take more, that's fantastic. But pick one that's going to work for you, try it, and then go back and pick another one later on. You will have access to this slide deck, so you will have access to look through this again. Disclaimer number 2, following websites are American, so they'll have content or language that differs from Canadian websites. So certain aspects of Google will have that. EquatIO, Vocaroo, the National Library of Virtual Manipulatives, Screencastify, and the Math Learning Center. So from the mouth of students with learning disabilities, before I did my presentation for ASSET, I asked them personal questions about math, and this is the feedback they said when I asked what makes math hard for you. Too many questions. So they're overwhelmed with the amount of questions given to them. Some students did explain that, you know, maybe giving them the similar amount of questions is okay, but breaking it up. Here's a page with 3 questions. Here's another page with 3 questions. Instead of giving them all 6 or 10 at once, it can be overwhelming. The word problems, too wordy. Students who have learning disabilities and who struggle reading or who struggle, breaking down what the question is asking or what is giving them, the word problems are a challenge for them. They can be too wordy, too long, or just in general, the word problems are hard. Formulas, remembering the formulas. So if a student has, memory retrieval issues, concerns, it is a challenge for them if they don't have access to the formula. You give them the formula, they can plug the numbers in and know how to use it, and that works great. But trying to remember all those formulas, especially as they go on through the higher grades and they've got more and more formulas, it does become challenging. Multiplication and division, sometimes separate or sometimes just seeing the relationship between the two is challenging. And a lot of students said geometries is challenging, and that's one thing. Sometimes we think geometry is easier because it's shapes and moving around a map, and for students with some spatial concerns, it is more challenging for them. So my follow-up to that was, well, what can we as teachers do to help you? So they said provide more one-to-one help, more hands-on activities, so giving them more manipulatives, more challenges that are going to ask them to work and find their answers through some hands-on building maybe. Less words, so less words for them to read and less words for them to write in their communication answer, and we're going to really look at that today. And moving at a slower pace, so not expecting them to be able to grasp a concept within 1 or 2 lessons, giving them a bit more time, and sometimes less questions does help that. Sometimes showing them videos over and over again, giving them access to videos helps. Asking them about their learning style is huge, especially once we get older and it's rotary math, and you might not see that student every period. You might only see them for math 1 period a day, 5 days a week, and you don't get a chance to maybe learn their learning style. And giving them the formula sheets. So we're going to talk about recording tools first. So why would we use recording tools? Well, for students with learning disabilities who have trouble getting their answers written on a page, it negates the typing or the handwriting they have to do. It allows conferencing when you can't conference. So if you're working with a small group and you want your students to record their answers, you may have a set of questions for them, and they can record their answers verbally, and you can at a later time go back and listen to it. So it's a great way to do that, a great way to conference without conferencing. Students who process faster get all their ideas out. So those students who need to get it all out and might speak really fast, they get it out really quickly. Which is great before they forget it. And then students who process things slower get all their ideas out as well, but at their pace. So you might get a longer, slower response, but it gives that student an opportunity to do that and not worry so much about focusing on their printing or their typing. And it does improve the clarity of the answers. So important web-based recording tools, Google Apps and add-ons. It's an extension called Screencastify, which is great. There's a voice recorder named called Vocaroo. It's a website. And then there's voice notes, which is built into read and write. And I use that more as a teacher descriptive feedback, and I'll show you all of these. The one downside is this computer I'm on has run out of operating system memory. I spent a couple hours trying to free it up, and it would not. So I will show you what Screencastify is, where it is, how to use it, and I'll show you a quick video of what that might look like from the student. So I do apologize for that, just technical difficulties on this very old computer. We tried with a Chromebook and it just wouldn't go either. So up here in this bar are what are called extensions for Google Chrome. This one here is called Screencastify. How you get that is you would go into the 3 little dots here, and you can go to more tools, extensions, or you can go to just the Chrome store. We'll do that way. If you go Chrome Web Store, click on it, search the store for Screencastify, and you find it. Screencastify Lite is free, which is great. So you can see mine's added, but when you would do it, you would click add to Chrome and it would pop up in here. If your URL bar goes all the way across and you don't see these, then you click on the three dots and you would find them up in the top here. So what you would do is you click on that, it pops up. So I'll show you how to start, and you would go record desktop, and you go record, and you go share, and you can see down here I've got low disk space, so I can't actually show you, but let's pretend it's recording. So give me a countdown, 3, 2, 1. And how I use it is I would go to this great website here, maybe called Math Learning Center, and they've got all these great free apps you can see that students can use online. Also great when you don't have access to as many manipulatives in your school and you've got students on assistive technology. So let's use this GeoBoard one. So again, you click Screencastify, you ask it to record, it counts down 3, 2, 1. The student clicks on GeoBoard and they open the web app. And you've asked them to make a right angle triangle. So the student is recording and explaining their thinking. So Mr. Parker, you asked me to make a right angle triangle. So I'm going to take this here, I'm going to make it like this. I'm going to take another rubber band here, and I'm going to make it like that. I'm going to take one more here. I'm going to make this one red though, Mr. Parker, or I'm going to make this one red too. But I'm going to take a yellow one and drag it down here. So the reason I made these two red is because this, Mr. Parker, is a 90-degree angle. It makes an L. It's like a corner of a square. That's how I know this is a right angle triangle. It's a triangle because it's got 1, 2, 3 sides. So it's got a 90-degree here, and it's got 3 sides. That's how I know it's a right angle triangle. Then they'd hit stop recording by clicking up here, this little red button. And it would go to a page where they process the video and it's stored in their drive. So if they went to their drive, it automatically creates a folder. It's called Screencastify. And in there, it has a bunch of different videos that are created. So I had made one on a test. So here's the video that I made. So we'll open it and you can see what it would look like when the student shares it with you. And the student makes the right angle triangle. Let's do this here. And we'll use this here. So the student might be talking at this point, they might not be. You want to get them talking definitely at the end though, as they make their triangle. So I would say, Mr. Parker, this is a right angle triangle. I know it's a triangle because it's got 3 sides. So there's 1, 2, 3. The student might label them. So 1, oops. Oh, it doesn't want to work. Sorry, I'm not going to do that part. So anyway, as I was saying, this is a triangle. It's got 3 sides, and you asked me to do a right angle triangle. I know this right here is a right angle. It makes an L. So you can get the gist of that. You can see how it records their voice while they're moving around the computer, doing something on the tab, which is awesome. So how would they share that with you? What they would do is they would go into the drive where they've got the video, and they can hit this little guy with a plus, this little person, or they can right click and hit share, and then they would type your name. So I'll share it with myself. So I'll share it with that one there, and then it sends it, and it would be in your drive now, and you would just have to look it up in recent and shared with me. It would be one of the top ones, and you could watch their video. You could ask them what the title is, and you could search it in there. And it would pop up in there for you. So that is one way of using Screencastify. I'm going to talk about how to use it later on as well with some other websites. Vocaroo. Vocaroo is a really neat voice recording, and it's web-based. So this is Vocaroo here, vocaroo.com. You have to click to enable Flash to allow it to record your voice. And we're going to look at this voice recording question here. So what we do is here we are taking away the students need to write to explain their communication, and we're going to give them a chance to speak their communication here. So the first part is, what is 5 times 4? If you know 5 times 4, what else can it help you answer? So we are going to record that in Vocaroo. So we go to the Vocaroo website, we click to record, and we have to allow it again. So it's one of the things to make sure students do, because if not, they're going to say it's not recording, not recording. So just teaching them how to make sure they click on the permissions. All right, Mr. Parker, you asked me what 5 times 4 is. I know 5 times 4 is 20. How do I know this? Well, if I skip count, it's a strategy you taught me. If I skip count by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, I know that 4 groups of 5 is 20. So 5 times 4, 20. You also taught me that I can flip the numbers around. So 5 times 4 can help me answer 4 times 5. I also know if I add one more group of 5, it's 25. So there's a couple things that it can help me answer. Click to stop. So the student can listen back to it, make sure they've done it right. They can record as many times as they like. There's no limit. But if they're going to do multiple recordings to send to you, they do have to save every time. So we're going to click here to save. And it gives a nice little URL. So we copy that. I Control C. And we go back to the question and we paste it. And this link here now takes me, the teacher, to that website there, Vocaroo, and I get to listen to that exact recording. So it's a nice way for the student to share their communication. Also awesome in questions that we're not looking at marking writing. So science responses, social science, even reading responses. When we're not looking at answering or marking, assessing the writing piece, we can use Vocaroo in a lot of different places across the curriculum. So now I can listen to it and give them feedback. And for students who are going to speed over my feedback, not read my feedback, or maybe not comprehend my feedback, I have started using in read and write documents. I could use Vocaroo too, by the way, but in read and write documents, I leave voice notes. So in read and write, the toolbar up here, this little one here is a voice note. It's only a minute long, so students could do responses there, but if they are going to take a longer amount of time to record an answer, they might run out and get frustrated. So that's why I use Vocaroo. It doesn't seem to have like a maximum time. I had students do a 15-minute podcast on it one day, so it doesn't seem to stop. So let's give a response to this. Let's say we listen to this answer. They were really thorough and accurate. So I highlight it. I click on my voice note, and I click here to record. Hey, Johnny, great answer. I really liked how you explained your strategy of skip counting by 5s. That's awesome. I also really appreciate that you were able to comment on how 5 times 4 and 5 times 4 and 4 times 5 can be flipped and are related. But then you actually added an extra one as well. So you really showed me how 5 times 4 can help you answer a couple questions. Great work. Keep it up. I stop. I can listen to it to make sure it's fine. For a matter of time, we're not going to, but we're going to insert. And you know it's inserting when you see these colors working along the bottom. Sometimes it does take a little bit, but this time it didn't, which is great. This will pop into a play. And then when you return this document to the student and you encourage them to listen to your feedback, they can listen to you and hopefully comprehend what you're saying, as opposed to trying to read your words and break down what your descriptive feedback was. Again, great in science, social science, reading responses, anything where your assistive technology students are using a Google document, the voice notes is a great tool. Okay, so those are some of the important web-based tools, and I will talk about Screencastify a little bit later again. We looked at Math Learning Center apps already. A couple others. Mathies is a Canadian one designed for Ontario classrooms. It offers a variety of games, learning tools, activities, teacher and home supports. There are things that you can print out. Again, I said I'd just talk about Screencastify, and right here, you could have them playing a game and explaining their thinking. So if we go to Mathies and we click on games, we could quickly do, I had a good one I looked at earlier. That was nice and simple. Let's do diamond drop whole numbers. So again, they'd start, we'd allow flash. this game would open up. We would start.
Choose a level to start a new game.
They get to pick their level. Before they pick their level, you would have them go up here again, click Screencastify, start recording, and then while they're playing the game, it would be recording, and you could have them explain. This might take a little bit of training, but you could get the students really doing some great explanation while they play. So let's just play 30 seconds or so.
Complete as many true statements as possible before
So I'm gonna move this here. Actually, I'm gonna change this one. So oop, I went the wrong way. There we go. I know 19 is less than 30 because 30 has a 3 in the tens column, and the 19 only had the 1 in tens column. Same here. 34 has a 3 in the tens column and a 4. So I know the 4 in the tens column made it greater. So that's why 47 was greater than 30. Oh, 19 and 19, they're both equal. That's pretty obvious. They're the same number. We'll end game there. So you can see how they can talk. This game's a little fast, so it's not the best example, but it's not a bad example. And the numbers do sit along the bottom for them as well. There's multiplication.com and other games out there that they could play and explain their thinking while they're playing and recording using Screencastify. So that's Matthews. The American version is a bit more in-depth. It's called the National Library of Virtual Manipulatives. You can see they break it down by strand and then grades. I'm not going to go into that website. You guys can play around with it if you'd like, but they do have some neat games and manipulatives as well. Okay. Let's go on to our next one here, Google Draw. So Google Draw, it's really great. It's like MS Paint, and it's got some really neat ways that you can create either graphic organizers. Students can create mind mapping. You can post questions on there for either short homework questions or sort of exit passes. And you can create some interactive anchor charts. So let's have a look at some of these things that we've used. So the graphic organizer. So this is one right here. This is Grasp. This is what I use. Some people call Grass. So in it, I put a question up top, and I would share this through Google Classroom with the students that either are on assistive technology, or if we have computers in the classroom that day, I might share it with the whole class. And they've got to go through the given, the required, the analyze, the solve, and the paraphrase. You can see I've given Vocaroo links here, so the students don't have to worry about typing it. They could just record their answer and put that link right in here. So the question is 25 students, only 5 can be in each boat. How many boats? So the student would go through what do they need to know, or what do they know, what do they need to find out, how are they going to do it, and then they solve it up here. They could, if they're using Chromebooks or if you've got little cameras in your class, they could take a picture with their webcam and drop, if they drew it out, they could insert the picture right here and solve it. They could also go up into the shapes. So if we go into the shapes, let's make, we've got, we don't know how many boats there are, but we do know there are 25 students. So let's make some boats. Can you see? So there's some boats. And I've got 25 students, so they might go in here and they might make a circle, and we'll make the circle red. And they go Control C and then make 25 copies. I'm not going to do it all, but then they would drag it over. So maybe they would be grouping their boats and the people in their boats. That might just be one way that they're showing their work. So there's lots of different options they can do here. Like I said, they could do pictures, they could speak it if that's one of your options you want them to do, but we tend to like them to do some visuals here. So they're creating their picture, and then down here they could paraphrase their answer with Vocaroo. So again, I didn't complete the question, but a very short, quick way that you could use Google Docs to create an organizer that can help them solve some word problems. The other options I had was posing questions. So if we go here, and you guys do have access to this Google Doc, and It's using Google across the divisions, sort of breaking it down. Okay, so we're going to look at the 10 frames here. There we go. So again, it's a Google drawing. I made the 10 frames, so you can see I solved this one earlier. 3 plus 7 equals 10. So you give the students the 5 dots or 1 dot or whatever it is that you want them to do, and you give them a selection of red dots, just like I did before. I made 1 dot, and then I went copy, paste. I would go control V like 20 times, 30 times, 40 times, just spread them out. And again, the great thing about this is once you've made 1 copy, you can go File, make a copy, and then change the numbers here, and you can have multiple ones at different times for the students. So that is the way of using 10 frames. Using Google Drawing to drop an image in, I used the lines here. So these are your line segments here. You can see I used them to go up and down and across here to give the length, the width, the height. I gave the formula here, and the student has to show their work down the side here of how they solved this math question to find the volume of the fish tank. Again, exit pass, possible homework question, just 1 quick question, just to keep them on task, whatever you need. So again, you have access to this using Google for Math, so that will help you access a bunch of different questions depending on what division you are in. All right, the anchor charts. I'm only going to show one in the sake of time. So here is a nice little anchor chart. I actually did copy this from a wall, made it my own a little bit with different numbers and different images. And also you can see here, these are live links to web pages. And this is a video here. So it's an interactive anchor chart because it takes them from your page where you're giving them the fraction, the image, how you turn it percent, how you turn it to decimal, but you also can send them to external areas to look at videos and images. Okay, let's continue on here. So we looked at word problems earlier, and when we looked at the GRASP organizer, students with language-based learning disabilities will struggle with word problems. So my question is, why are we constantly giving our students with a learning disability the same word problems as our students who do not have a learning disability, who do not have a challenge with reading? So when we're looking at math, I question, what are we assessing here sometimes when we're given these big, crazy word problems? So as in language, more and more words are going to confuse students with learning disabilities. In John Mighton's book on page 137, he gives a great tip on how to reduce words in word problems. So here's one way we might typically see a standard textbook example. It's a warm July day. There's a party at your family's cottage. Right there, no math yet. There are 20 people at the party from your family. Okay, we're starting to get into some math now. 5 boats that are going to carry everyone out to the island. How many people are going to fit in boats? A lot of students we're going to lose up here in this first part. Where's the math? So here's the question again. And here's what we can do to break it down. We cross out all these words we don't need for the students to worry about. They're anxious when they see this size of word problems. So now we're feeding into anxieties. And if we break it down like this, there's the question: 20 people, 5 boats, how many in a boat? So it makes it much easier, and it focuses on math. And again, you already have this typed out on a Google document for your students with learning disabilities on IEPs. All you have to do is make a copy and start erasing a lot of the words. So again, like I said earlier, what are we assessing here, math or language? And the language really challenges a lot of our students. Okay, project-based learning and inquiry in math. This is a great way to attack multiple parts of your curriculum, not just in math. Project-based learning, or you might hear something called PBL. It's a method where students are going to gain their knowledge and skills by tackling a challenging question or problem. In math, the challenge is usually around a real life problem that students can relate to. So I came up with this sort of challenge for a grade 5 teacher, and I said, you don't have to do all this. You can pick and choose what's important for you, and you'll see what I mean when we go to the next page. So in grade 5, students are given $15,000 in order to plan their dream vacation. So they've got to research places. So there's some language expectations. They got to collect their research. They've got to budget and plan. You know, how much is your hotel? What's your food going to cost you? Where are you going to go? Like from how much is it going to cost you to get from here to there? What excursions are you going to? And then they've got to create a final presentation. A lot of great access to learning skills here as well. So curriculum connections, we've got some number sense in there. So decimals, adding, subtraction, multiplication, division. You can put some place value questions in there. You've got distance conversion. You've got area and perimeter, maybe of a park, and you've got lapse time. So if you're going to go from your hotel to the Coliseum, and it takes, according to Google Maps, it's going to take you 47 minutes to walk there, and you leave at 2:10, what time are you going to get there? So you can put some questions like that in there. You can put graphing in there, again, it's optional, weather patterns, rainfall, things like that. Tourists that visit the city, busy months versus quiet months. So they can learn what high season versus low season means. You can even compare high season, low season costs of flights. Obviously, there's some reading when they do the research and gathering their notes. You could put some writing in there. Okay, you got to persuade your parents to take you, or you got to explain something about that area. So you got some paragraph writing in there. If you're in grade 4, because we'll talk in a minute about how you can modify this question, obviously. You get some history. Grade 5, you could talk about what sort of government do they have in place and their history of government maybe. You can include some art that they have to research and recreate from that area. And then using their assistive technology or computers, you've got research, mind mapping using Mindomo, creating a presentation. They could include some spreadsheets and formulas, again, depending on how deep you get into this. Or they could use some mapping skills with ToolBuilder or MyMaps. So again, lots of really great opportunities here. It's so easy to differentiate. You can change the dollar amount. You can reduce expectations. If you've got students who need more and want to be challenged more, you can give them all of this. And again, grade level 2, you could change everything based on grade level. So it's a nice, great way to attack a lot of your curriculum with one challenge. And on an IEP, this could look like this. So in math, students will research and plan a dream vacation, use their number sense skills to budget for the trip, and measurement skills to demonstrate an understanding of elapsed time and distance conversion. In this teaching strategies, I've tried to put on my IEPs, you know, the skills that we're working on with these. So I've got memory, providing a variety of manipulatives, chunking into smaller tasks, executive functioning, specifically the planning. So we're going to co-create a schedule for completion of each section. And then assessment methods, we're going to utilize a variety of ongoing formative assessments such as 3-2-1, exit passes, conferencing to check in, related to certain skills throughout the unit, or the task, sorry. And then use a rubric at the end to assess the number sense and measurement knowledge and thinking tasks. On language, the IP might look like this. Organize the research for a dream vacation using Mindomo. Create a final product, slideshow, podcast, or presentation in order to present their findings and explain why this would be their dream vacation. Again, teaching strategies are broken down into memory and executive functioning. Give a few instructions at one at a time. One-to-one teaching of Mindomo. Provide descriptive feedback at every step for the executive functioning skills. And again, the assessment, co-create a success criteria, one-to-one feedback on their final project as they work through it, and then a rubric to assess the final piece. Okay, from the wonderful people at Text Help who created Read and Write, they have got EquatIO. EquatIO is pretty awesome, and they've just really worked on it this last year. Let me just get rid of this box here to make it even better. And this is what I always thought it would be when I first was introduced to it by them. So EquatIO is a great way to use a Google Doc and start embedding math manipulatives into it as well. So you can see that it recognizes, it pops up here, this document contains math. So they recognize if you've got a document that you've already got maybe made before EquatIO and that it has math in it. So EquatIO has a couple of uses for me. One, we'll do this one first, is the student can use it to answer questions. So again, we've got our 10 square there, and we've put our nice, quick, simple math question: 3 elephants, 2 ducks, how many animals? Now, how do we get to the EquatIO sort of workplace is we click on this, and I'm going to go up to my extensions up here again, and this is EquatIO. This is that little symbol right here. So if I click on this, we'll see a bar pop along the bottom, and I want to go to Edit Math. So what it does is it goes to where a little workspace, and it takes that table and that math that I had, excuse me, and it puts it onto a math space. So what it did is it brought the questions over here for me, which is great. So now the student who I sent this out on Google Classroom has access to moving things around here. So first they have to figure out what are going to be the elephants. So let's make these the elephants. That means these are going to be the ducks. So now we go back to my arrow, and the student will move 3 elephants over. And they will move 2 ducks. And then, so you can see this is very primary, so you can see where you can go with this for other divisions, other grades. And then they count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then they go back to the freehand, 5. All right, so we'll do an equal sign there too. Now, this is the tricky part. And it's not that tricky really, but when they go to put it back, they have to, if they leave this box blue here, their answer is going to replace that, which is no big deal because the question's still in it. But sometimes you want to have the question there so you can show parents, or if you got a school team meeting and you want to show other outside providers what the question was and what the student did, you want to have the cursor down below. It might take a little bit of training for that, but eventually it'll click. So we go back here and we go right here. It says insert math with this little blue circle with a white arrow in there. We insert it. It'll put it right back in that document that it took from, which is awesome. And it does it all for you. And there is the answer to the question that you gave them. So that's pretty awesome. So the other thing that I do is I create my questions on here. So I've got find 2 equivalent fractions, but I've got nothing there. You know, and if you wanted to find something that's different and challenging, like, you know, something that's got 14ths, you can always find your basic fraction pictures and images, but you also want to watch out for copyright rules. So what you can do here instead is if we open up our EquatIO again up here, and it puts the bar in the bottom, we want to go to the math space. We want to insert a math space. It's going to open this up for me. I've got nothing here. What's really cool is I've got all these smart shapes and shapes down here. I can do a speech input of question for them if they need it. So by clicking on the smart shapes, I've got a compass. I've got polygons, but if I click on these, I can make different shapes. But I'm going to go to the fractions. So let's click on fractions. I'm going to put my fraction here. Now, right now, so you see if I click off it, there's nothing. But when I click on it, this nice little bar pops up here for me. And I can change my segments. So I want to put 14 segments in there. Like I said, I'm going to make it challenging. And I'm going to put 4 14ths. So that way they can make it smaller, they can make it bigger when they do equivalent. I can shade it differently. I can do a whole bunch of different things. I can put a label on there. The label might be the question. I don't know. You could drop a speech in there where you read the question out loud. So there's lots of great things that you can do there. So I've got it there. So now I just go back to that insert. I'm just going to take it back and drop it in there. There are fraction bars. There's time. There's There's number lines. There's a lot of really neat things in there. You've just got to play with it and find out what you're looking for and make it for your grade. So it's really a great tool. And it makes, even if you're going to print this out, you share this with the students who are using assistive technology. And if the math isn't modified, maybe you just print this out for the students as well, and you've got your math test on paper there, and away you go. Okay, the last thing I'm going to talk about just quickly is Google Keep. Google Keep is great for sharing formulas, sharing links to sites, sharing anchor charts. Google Keep is it's an app. So if we click on Google here and we click on our apps, it pops up right there. So Google Keep, you click on it, and you can see I've got some math notes already created. And I'm going to show you the importance of those. I'll show you how to create a note after, but let's go to this Google Keep note here. And I've got this little test that a student might have. And we know that formulas are an issue for students, and if you give them the formula sheet, they lose it. If it's in their drive, they might not be able to find it. Plus, they've got to go, if you gave them a formula sheet on another Google document, they're going back and forth between the tabs. But with Google Keep, the great thing here is, so I'll move this down again. There are certain things that pop up along Google Calendar, but Google Keep is right here. So if I click on it, it pops up with all those notes that you saw. So, and if I want to search for one, it's up top here. We want to make this disappear. There we go. So these have little labels. So I'll give you the labels later on. I'll show you how to do that. But if I want to just narrow it down, I want to put math. It gets rid of all the ones that aren't math. Maybe I want to make my label area. And now it's giving me my area notes. When I used to use these, I initially created them for the students, but then my goal is to have them start creating their own independently. So now they've got to find the area and perimeter of this rectangle. Oh, there it is right there for them. Area is your length times your width. Length times, so they can put their answer in here. They can do a Vocaroo, however they want to do it. Perimeter is you add up all the sides. So 4 plus 12 plus 4 plus 12. They got to get a calculator maybe, but they add it up and they put their answer below. So again, I use this in language for writing tips, for writing process, a lot of neat little things, multiplication tips. You could put a link to a video in here again as well if you want, almost like we did in the interactive anchor chart. So how do we create these? Well, if we go back to Google Keep, so we'll click Apps, we'll click Google Keep. All right, take a note. So you give it the title. We'll just call it area this time. You put your area equals length times width. And the important thing is the label. So we go to 3 dots here and we want to add label. I've already created a couple here. I want math. I want formula. And that is good enough for me. So there's my formulas. There's my label, sorry, formula, math. So the student knows that it's a math or it's a formula one. You can add images again, like I said, so you could add an image that you've got of a square with the sample below it. You could add that. And when you share it with students, you go collaborator. So I'll share it with myself again. And you share it with the student and just save. Here's the tricky thing. If you share this with 4 or 5 multiple students and you've got that one student who likes to be a bit of a joker, you've lost control over the keep note. They can all add to it, change it, write something on it, eliminate something, erase it all together. So you want to make sure that you're sharing it with the few students that need it, or you make the same note 5 times and you share it with 5 different students. That way, if they want to goof around on their own Google Keep note and erase it, then that's their loss and that's their lesson learned. Like I said, I do this to begin my year, and my goal as I get going through the year is to have students creating their own notes so they have access to it themselves and them only. And I don't have a ton of different notes, as you can see on my Google Keep page. So the last thing I just want to talk about, and the ministry asked me to just touch on this briefly is financial literacy and using technology. So, financial literacy is a mandate of the ministry. And when you look at the project-based task, we are hitting some of that when we are looking at them making financial decisions and understanding money management. So if you got $15,000 for a vacation, you've got to learn how you can fit certain things in, and maybe you can't travel first class. Recording student thoughts and responses gives you a great understanding of their knowledge and their thought process in relation to money-related questions and challenges. So you get to listen to, what they're thinking when they're doing the money questions. And EquatIO, Mathies, Google Draw, even games to do with money, paired with text-to-voice, voice-to-text apps, or Screencastify. You're creating problems and challenges to give students with learning disabilities access to the tools to hear and answer those questions using the technology. Therefore, you're leveling the playing field, and you're giving everyone sort of that equal opportunity to answer those questions that have to do with the financial literacy. So thank you for joining us. The rest of the slide deck are some other websites you may be interested in looking at, some other resources that I have, as well as the link to the Padlet right here, and that gives you access to this this deck, as well as any other things that I've shared and talked about. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Richard, for sharing your knowledge and expertise and providing our webinar participants with in-depth practical suggestions and strategies to manage anxiety in students with LDs and using technology to support and enhance their math learning outcomes. Okay, let's move on to the Q&A part of today's webinar. If anyone has questions, please type your question into the box on your GoToWebinar dashboard, and I will read your question to Richard.
All right, so our first question was about using multiple programs at once. You showed us how to use Math Games and Screencastify at the same time. Can you use the Google Read and Write and Voice Notes function with Mathies?
No, the voice note option is only to be used on a Google Doc. So you'd have to use you could maybe use Vocaroo to record what they're playing, but the voice note option is only a Google Doc tool.
Okay. All right, next question. Once you have a Google drawing created, how do you share it with your students?
I share it using Google Classroom, and I either make a copy for all students if it's something that they have to answer, and if it's something that they just need to look at, I would share it as a view only, so they couldn't manipulate it or do anything with it, and they just look at it, and they can still access the live links on there. So it doesn't change that, but they also can't, move things around by mistake or on purpose.
Okay, that's a great answer. So with this presentation, did you create it in Google Draw or EquatIO, or what program were you using?
So the actual presentation itself was a Google slideshow, and then the supplementary links and things that I shared would be whatever. So if I shared something using EquatIO, that was done on a Google Doc using the EquatIO extension. Google Drawing was on Google Drawing, and so on. So the actual slide deck is, though, a Google presentation.
Okay, thank you. So this teacher says, I don't have much of a budget for assistive technology at my school. Where can I find a list of free web-based programs?
That one was a tricky question because there's no list that I have found. Sometimes reaching out to your tech leaders at your school board. So for example, in Halton, we have a few assistive techs, they're called IPLs, or assistive tech leaders, and they may have put that sort of list together. Or it's maybe just talking to other special education teachers around your board and maybe coming up with a shared list that you can just add to and share with each other every time you find one.
And if some teachers want to get in touch with you, are they able to do that?
Yes, they are.
Okay, and the best way to do that is Twitter, or what do you think?
My email, if it's on there, they could reach my email, or it's just through the Twitter at Teacher Parker, one of the two.
All right. Okay, I think we have time for one last question. This viewer asked, can the programs you shared today be used with all grade levels?
I believe they can. It's up to the comfort of the teacher sometimes, but I do believe, and detect how much technology you have and how much access you have to, because the more students are on technology, the better they are with it. But I believe that this can be used for all grades. The challenging ones will obviously be the sort of K and ones, but you know, I believe with some practice, a lot of the things could be. EquatIO might be the more challenging one actually, but the other ones all have games and links to grade related tasks for those specific grades.
All right, that's all the time we have for today. So we're going to end our question and answer session at this time. Should you have any further questions or anything you think of at a later date, you can always email us at info@ld@school.ca or use our hashtag on Twitter, #LDwebinar, and we'll be sure to make sure that your questions get answered. So be sure to mark your calendars for next LD at School webinar, which is going to be taking place on Wednesday, June 5th. Sabrina O'Keefe will be presenting the SLP in the math class, empowering math learners through collaboration between educators and speech-language pathologists. Directly after today's webinar, you'll be receiving an electronic link to register for this upcoming webinar, or you can use the link at the bottom of the screen. Please also mark your calendars and save the date to join us at LD at School's 6th Annual Educators Institute, which will be held on August 20th and 21st in Mississauga. Information on the program, registration, and hotel accommodations are on the LD at School website now, and public registration will be opening in June. On behalf of the LD at School team, I'd once again like to thank Richard for his presentation and thank all of you for participating and joining us today. Please remember that we'll be sending out presentation slides and a short survey following today's webinar. The feedback we received through this survey provides us with important information for producing future webinars. As a reminder, we'll be sending out the link to this recorded webinar in approximately 3 weeks. Thank you again for participating and enjoy the rest of your day.